Hello and welcome to this look at the Class 56s. Unfortunately, the build quality of the Romanian built locos wasn't great. The stressed skin body sides had not been finished off properly, and there was a general lack of uniformity in the assembly. The 30 Romanian-built 56s entered service between February and October 1977. This was much later than planned because of all the rectification work that needed to be carried out. The first dozen or so members of the fleet had been on British soil since the previous year, scattered around various depots and engineering works. Nearby Drax was the very last of the major coal-fired power stations to be built in Britain. It started operation in 1974, and by the time it was fully commissioned in 1986, it was Britain's largest coal-fired power station by a substantial margin. Although none of the Class 56s used on Freightliner services received Railfreight distribution livery, a few members of the class were painted in this civil engineer's scheme of grey and yellow in the early 1990s. Their intended work was ballast trains in the southeast of England. The reason for this change was that the newer Class 60s were now taking over more and more of the traditional Class 56 heavy freight duties. Transrail's heaviest freight trains were those carrying iron ore from Port Talbot to Llanwern. Pairs of Class 56s had taken over from triple-headed Class 37s back in 1979 on these impressive train loads of around 3,000 tons. All coal trains from Immingham to Scunthorpe were diagrammed for Class 56 haulage, although the heavier iron ore trains on the same route were hauled by Class 60s. The coal trains ran at roughly 90-minute intervals throughout the day. Fastline acquired 3 Class 56s in order to haul container trains from Thamesport to Doncaster, Birch Coppice and Trafford Park. All 3 were painted in the company's striking livery. Spoil and aggregates were particular targets for DC Rail. During 2013, the company hauled several short-term flows of spoil to the huge landfill site at Calvert, routed via Oxford. Pairs of Class 56s have sometimes appeared on the flow of bitumen from Lindsay Refinery to Preston Dock. It's a service that still runs today, although the wagons are now loaded at Haverton Hill near Billingham instead of Lindsay. This is the last remaining bitumen flow on Britain's railways, and Colas Rail took it over from DB in 2015. '56081 was repainted in retro BR blue livery, and its duties in 2023 have included dragging Class 807 units back to the Hitachi plant at Newton Aycliffe after overnight testing.